Hello and welcome to Everyday Board Game Reviews. My name is Daniel.
Hey, my name's Daniel.
And today we're going to be reviewing Unmatched from Restoration and Mondo Games. Mondo Games.
It used to be Mondo.
Games.
They don't have Mondo anymore.
Yeah, all this version, right?
Yeah.
And in this review, we're going to do something a little bit differently. We're only going to be reviewing just the system of Unmatched as a whole.
As a whole, not the individual expansions.
Yeah.
We are going to correlate the competitive and the cooperative together.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have Tales to Amaze, or any of the future ones that they do that are co-op, then that'll lump into it. It's a big system. We'll go into details on how it works, but the way we're going to be actually reviewing this is, if you're familiar with our channel, we have the 5 gamer criteria, G.A.M.E.R, which we will go into details on what each of those are. For each of those, Daniel or I can give it a thumbs up for whether it meets those categories as well, giving a score from 0 to 10 out of 10 Daniels. So, with that being said, go ahead and tell them how Unmatched works.
The core basis of Unmatched originally started as a head-to-head battler. You're playing against another opponent. Mainly a 2-player game, but there was a teams version of it when it first came out. Now they incorporate free-for-all rules where it's one versus everybody, and you're all fighting out on the board as you go. You have different types of characters. A lot of them some can be IP characters, like the Jurassic Park characters here, or they can be that are in the public domain, like these ones over here. And that's why I have these 2 boxes up here to show you the things that they have. And you pick one character, and you get their deck of cards, you play their special ability, and you fight with another player. You have 3 actions. You could do 2 actions on your turn, and you have a choice of 3 things that you can do out of those actions. One is to maneuver, and that's how you're basically going to draw your cards up. And then you can choose to move your character based on their movement, with some abilities to make your movement faster. Basically, you have to discard a card to boost it. Then you can do what is called a scheme. You need to have a scheme card in your hand. You play that card in your hand, and that tells you what to do. And then the other thing you could do is attack, depending on the type of character you have. They could be a ranged attacker, which we'll get into that when we get into the review, or they can be a melee attacker, which is very simple. You got to be next to the person to beat them up. Now, the co-op version of it does the same kind of rules, except for it's just top decking the monster decks. That's really the only difference. But you could do, out of those 3 actions, you can do 2 separate actions, or you can do the same action twice. And you could possibly get more actions depending on your scheme cards or some of the cards that you play throughout the game. But at its core, it's just a head-to-head deck battler.
Cool. Awesome. So, we're going to start by always flipping the coin of doom. That'll decide who talks first. We're going to start with G for game immersion.
And when we're talking about game immersion, is the game fun to lose? Is there player interaction, i.e. table talk or role-playing? Or does it have those memorable moments that are going to make you stand up and shout in a packed gaming room? And for me, it is a Daniel for me, because it does have that game immersion. I always have a blast losing this game. I've lost to the co-op. I've lost competitively. I've lost free-for-all. I've lost as teams. I've played this a plethora of times. You're not as much into this as I am.
Right.
But I have played this enough where I've lost a lot of games, and I've won some games. Enough where I can really say how much I really do enjoy this game a lot. In fact, we've done a podcast where we compared this with another game. Go check that one out.
Yep.
So for me, in-game immersion, this is a Daniel, because it is fun to lose. There is that player interaction. And what's really neat about it is that the way they build these decks in this game, it makes you feel like you're playing that character. The Invisible Man jumps into like this clouds and nobody can find him, and he bounces around the board. Or Dracula gets stronger for every attack he gets because he heals himself based on the attack. So you get those aspects of it. You got the T-Rex in here, who is a massive character that can attack pretty well, but moves pretty slowly. So it really brings out the role-playing aspect of it too, because you feel that. And there is a lot of memorable moments in this for my liking. So it is a Daniel for me.
Okay, cool. For me, I'm not going to give this a Daniel personally, just because, while I do agree with you, like, I do feel like they take care or special attention to try to make the characters act in a way that would make sense of it. Because it still uses the same system in my eye, I always find that it's far more mechanical, and I feel like sometimes it just kind of stumbles over itself. It's like, yeah, I get why like this has to work this way. But if I don't have the cards, like if I'm playing Bruce Lee, for example, like he's always going to be able to punch things. It's like, but if I'm only having defense cards, like that just pulls me out of it because it's like, well, this doesn't make sense to me thematically. But or like why these guys are battling against each other. Now I think that's also part of the charm is that I'm battling the Invisible Man with a T-Rex. Like, that's hilarious, you know? And I appreciate that part of it. So, like, player interaction, I do kind of give it that in a way, but just because of how much I feel like it just stumbles on itself, I've never had any outstanding moments. I'm like, okay, like, that was pretty close, or it's like, well, or you beat me fair and square, you know? But I never really like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. It's like, no, I saw that coming. You know, and it happened.
He's still salty about the fact that everybody went
and
all in.
I knew you were going to go on. I knew you were going to do this. No, I really don't care, and I'm okay with that.
I just teasing.
Because out of our group of 4 people, I am the one who doesn't champion this game.
Though he does have a set.
I do have a set because I do like I'm a magician fan, so I have Houdini and Genie, right? Yeah. So that's the only set I will. And I've owned other sets too. I've owned like 3 or 4 other sets.
Yeah.
And then I just never play them because I'm like, it's so mechanical. And so it's like, if I'm going to have a set, I'll keep the Houdini one. I get rid of everything else.
Yeah. And plus, you have 3 friends who own practically everything for this game.
So if there's ever a time where I feel like playing it, or if you guys are wanting to play it, it's like, cool, I'll play it. Yeah. But for some reason, just because of the mechanical nature out of it, I have to remember how to play it every single time.
I do think there's going to be a set that you'll enjoy, and I need to get you to play them next time.
Sure.
Because it's a push your luck set.
Okay.
Pandora.
I press your luck. Sure.
So
yeah. I press your luck, and I'm willing to try it. I don't know. I'm not as charmed by it. I get why people are. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. Yeah. You know, again, I'm taking my bias out of it, but I just don't. It, but it doesn't sound like it. You're right, but I just feel like I don't think that it has those exciting moments that a lot of games that we play do have.
Yeah, I get it.
So game immersion, I don't give it that to Daniel.
Okay.
Art and production. I'll start this off. Art production consists of 3 parts. First off, that is the art. If it's good to look at, you know, we know it's subjective, but again, like you could tell if they take a lot of time and effort putting into it. Mm-hmm. Pieces and components, and finally the graphic design. Again, Daniel and I are colorblind, so that really matters. The iconography on this is incredibly clear. It is very clean. The miniatures, you can tell that this company really understands what they're doing, how they're doing it. I mean, the characters look like it. The art is striking. This is an easy Daniel for me.
And the big thing about it, too, when it comes to the art and production, it's not the same artist. They get a group of artists, like known artists, G.A.M.E.R. I think there's another one, a famous one that has been in this one, too.
Sure.
But G.A.M.E.R is the main one that you see a lot of times. But they have some massive artists. Like, if you tell by this box style, there's several different artists on this box style.
Yeah.
And so these different boxes. So that is cool. So the art is fantastic. The cards come out really nice. Yeah. They have good linen finish to them. They shuffle really well. The minis are great. What also I have to like about the minis, too, is the fact of the matter of they are pre-washed. So if people who do like painting minis, it's very easy for them to get that mini painted
I do appreciate the fact that they put a wash on it, like...
And it pops out for people who don't want to paint the minis.
Right, exactly.
So, and you can tell, like, okay, that is the Invisible Man, while that is that person over there. So, yeah, this is a Daniel for me as well. And I mentioned it in the game immersion aspect of it, but this is where it's important for me, is the graphic design. Mm-hmm. The way they do the ranged fighters is by far one of the best ways I've ever seen it. They put it on the board, and it tells you, basically... If they're on the same color section as your character and you're a ranged fighter, you can hit them.
Yep.
It is that simple.
Yep.
If they're on a blue spot and you're in an area that has a blue and brown spot, you can hit both the blue and the brown areas. And I wish more games did something like that, especially when it's this kind of fighting system.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, we're ranged. They're got to be like 3 or 4 spaces away, but it has to be adjacent.
Yep.
Or like there's got to be a line to them. No, they're like, if you're on a blue and they're on a blue, you can hit them.
Yeah.
So simple. Yeah. I love that aspect. So yes, this is a Daniel for me.
Cool. All right, the next one up is meaningful choice.
And when we're talking about meaningful choice, impact on other players, the depth of strategy, tactics, or skills, and do arbitrary choices or AP make an impact on the game? And so this one's a little rough for me because I'm going to have to talk this in my own brain because you can impact other players. There are characters, depending on who you're playing.
That is the direct reason for the game.
Yeah. Well, there's that too.
If you're playing versus.
But you're in or the co-op too, because there's characters in there that can force you to top deck. However, what happens is when you run out of your deck, you just start taking damage because you're exhausted. Yep. And your character will lose 2 health every time you're supposed to draw up. You don't get to reshuffle your deck, so there's characters that force you to drop deck. There's characters that force you to take a card out of someone's hand and use it for their boosting. There are characters, monsters like the Jersey Devils, that really cut your deck in half or cancel your moves, or Fainting is a very powerful card because it cancels the effect of certain characters. There's other characters out there that cannot be canceled because of their abilities and stuff like that. So there is a lot of impact on other players. You have to learn your character that you're playing, and there's so many. I've seen people that only play one character because they've learned that character very well, so there is a lot of depth of strategy tactics here because you're learning those characters. But there is arbitrary choices in this game because, as you mentioned earlier, you're pulling hands out and is like, oh, I got to take this attack because I don't have any blocking in my hand. All is attack or schemes in my hand.
Effectively, it's like playing war, right?
Yeah,
in a way.
You have ways of mitigating it because that's the whole point of the maneuvering is you can draw up and move away from battles. There are some abilities that let you, if you win an attack, you get to draw up cards. There's different ways to mitigate it, but there is a lot of AP or arbitrary choices, actually. Sorry, not AP, but arbitrary choices in this game.
There is some AP, though.
There is some AP because you're sitting there like with your cards. But I give it 2 out of the 3. I think the arbitrary choices in the AP do make a negative to this game. But there's a lot of strategy because you got to learn your character. You got to know your characters. And so for me, it gets a Daniel meaningful choice, but barely.
Yeah, I'm actually the same way. I'm going to give it 2 out of the 3, and I would give it meaningful choice just because I agree with what you said. Like there are times where, since it's a card-driven game, you're not always like able to deal with that. You know, like there's sometimes it's like, well, I got 5 defense cards, cool. I can't do anything offensively, And while that helps mitigate all the damage you're doing to me, that's only so much. And since we're both pulling at random, it's obviously a lot of balance and care and playtesting went into that to make them that balance. But there will be times where certain cards are really needed for certain characters.
You don't believe in the heart of the cards, and it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'll bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
So overall, I do think that it is a very tactical game. Mm-hmm. You do have to try to play your best to it, and I do think like the whole point of it is the impact on one of the players. So I do give that a meaningful choice as well. So ease of play.
Ease of play.
Okay, ease of play breaks down to simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, likelihood to get to the table, mechanism or theme. And is it easy to understand, learn, and teach? This absolutely does not get a Daniel from me. And I'll tell you why. I have to relearn this game every time I play it. And it's not that I'm not good at playing card games. Like, I've played tactical games like this. But the fact that every single character plays differently and works in a different way, which is a benefit to it, don't get me wrong, that is 100% worth its time. And we'll talk about that in the next category. That is worth that time. You have to go through a method of studying right at the beginning. It's like same reason I wouldn't give Disney Villain a ease of play. There's a learning curve every single time you play. Even if you're playing with the same character, you still have to understand how the other players are playing their character. Mm-hmm. And that is a learning curve every single time it's played. And the biggest knock to ease of play is the cooperative version. And the reason I say that is because when they take a versus game, a competitive game, and turn it into a cooperative variation, there's 2 ways to do it. You can puzzleify it, or you can automate something. And this has to do the automating system because you're battling the big baddie, right? Mm-hmm. The Mothman or the UFO.
The alien, yeah.
The alien. And so that's a whole system of like, oh, well, I have to automate this and I have to automate this. I don't even know still how to do that. I'm glad you do, because every time we've played it, I just have to sit back all like, they're going to take their turn. I don't know how this works, because you're like, all right, well, this one is the initiative for this, and this comes up here, and then this is, it's just like, you're learning a whole new game on top of it just to make it. I'd rather just play a versus and just beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Something that's a little easier. If if they didn't make the cooperative version, I might actually consider ease of play. Because it's not too terrible, but even then, again, it's because everything's so drastically different. Like Funkoverse, and that was what we were arguing about the comparison, and I'm not comparing too much to it, but the game as a whole is really the same thing every time. It's just your character ability on your card is slightly different. Mm-hmm. That's easy to learn. This is a whole different system almost, and some have extra rules on top of that.
Yeah.
So I don't give it ease of play.
And I agree with you. I don't give it easy play either. Same reason I knocked Spooktacular is because it's so asymmetrical.
Yeah.
Your characters play so differently that it's hard for me as a teacher to teach you how your character works because your abilities are different. Your cards are different. I don't know what you've drawn up in your hand or how they work. Yeah. I just have to tell you, if it's yellow, you play it as a scheme. If it's red, you play it as a straight attack. If it's, I think, blue, it's a straight shield. If it's purple, then it can be used as either or. Right. But then you also have to pay attention to the character who's with you, because some characters have sidekicks. So does it work for any, or does it work for Sherlock Holmes, or does it work for Watson, or whoever the main character is and the sidekick is? So does it work for that? What does it say? Does it say any? Does it say Sherlock? Does it say Watson? Mm-hmm. Just on that alone, it's hard to teach it. And it's hard to grok it sometimes when you're like, oh, I'm playing this card. Oh, wait, no. I'm defending with the wrong character. Yeah. I'm not playing with this right character. The simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism is fine if you played.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, well, it's also if you played the head-to-head like Magic the Gathering, where you're just drawing cards and attacking the other person. It's basically that with extra steps. So
I wouldn't give Magic ease of play either.
Well, go on. But I'm saying if that's where you're going, if it's a head-to-head battler, and you're familiar with, you're coming over saying Magic the Gathering, then you're very familiar with it. But that's probably the only one I can give here at ease of play, and that's only for one basic ability. Is like, hey, if this is where you're coming from, then you might like this game because you're familiar with the head-to-head battler kind of situation. But the likelihood to get to the table is a possibility based on some of these themes.
Yes.
Based on some of the boxes.
Absolutely.
The newest one that's coming out.
That's the reason I own a set.
Yeah.
Right.
The newest set. This is the only one that I give it. Like I said, I can give it simplicity. Basically, if you're coming, but for the layman's or non-gamers or people who are not as heavy into the hobby as we are, I would not give it simplicity and familiarity in the mechanisms. I would not give it easy to learn, understand, or teach. The only one I would give it is the likelihood to get to the table, just because how many themes are on here. You got Witcher, you have
and that might
Ninja
be
Turtles.
enough. That might be enough to pull somebody in to go, I'm willing to learn what is essentially a complicated game because this sounds cool.
Yeah. But other than that, I can't give it the ease of play for that simplicity. The asymmetry is going to be tough to teach it. The simplicity of it is like there's a lot going on just on what your cards are saying too, and a lot of the text on there as well. Yep. So it's up there with Magic the Gathering. Like if you know Magic, then you probably have a good time with this one. Yeah. But for like people who are just into hobby gaming that comes from say like Pandemic, I'm not showing you this game.
Right. Exactly. If you play Ticket to Ride, you'll love Unmatched. Anyway.
Exactly.
Replay value is our final one, the R in our gamer criteria.
And this is the length and time and scaling wheel, the minimum number of plays for the full experience, and the expandability. Well, guess what? There is enough on this game, just out of the one base set like this one, where there's 4 characters, you can learn 4 different characters. You can play it once or twice or 3 times to really get the understanding of this, especially if you're playing head-to-head kind of thing. I'll give it the length of time scaling wheel, just for like if you're doing a head-to-head battler. Yeah. It takes a little longer the more players you get, but especially when you go into the co-op version of it, because they increase the difficulty based on the number of players, because you have your basic big bad, and then you add a sidekick to that big bad for every player that's in the game. So there's more characters that are going out there. Right. But it plays pretty simple, especially if you're familiar with everything. It plays pretty quickly once you're familiar with everything. Like me and Gamehead Geek can play a co-op version of this game in 45 minutes at 2-player. We played it as a 3-player, and we played it in roughly an hour, so it wasn't too bad. No. So the replay value is phenomenal. The expandability is amazing. They've already announced sets for next year. You have the Stars and Stripes set that's coming out. You have Hellboy, that's a new IP that they have. The Ninja Turtles are coming out later this year, hopefully around November time. just after right before this review comes out, as well as they announced Muhammad Ali, and they're reprinting the Bruce Lee set. So there is enough in here of real stuff, IP stuff, and stuff like Cobble and Fog here that you can get what you want. There's Marvel, there's Witcher. Pick your poison and battle them out. So yes, replay value is a Daniel for me.
Cool. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's a Daniel for me because it really is like it's one of the more replayable games. And what I like about it is they originally did release 1 or 2 characters by themselves, which is not playable by themselves. But I think they've gone away from that, and now they only support it with 2 minimum in per box, meaning
2 minimum, yeah.
Yeah, 2 minimum characters.
They've
right?
done solo characters. They did it with the Deadpool and they did it with the Bruce Lee. Those are the only ones
But they don't do it anymore.
No.
Yeah, in fact, they're re-releasing Bruce Lee
with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, so it's like you could tell that they heard that feedback. They're like, why should I ever release a character that you can't play out of the box, right?
And not only that, they become chase characters, and it just makes it so difficult because of the scalping and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, because they realize like, oh well, like people aren't buying these, so let's stop producing them real quick, and then it's limited now, and now it's it's a whole mess. But the fact that the base games are four characters, most are either 2 or 4, some are different amounts, 3, yeah.
Most of the IPs are
every
3.
single one of them is playable out of the box, and I remember like the original comparison when we did this versus Funkoverse, right? Funkoverse, just because all they had to do was put an ability on a character, make a model, boom, there's your character. They were pumping out so many, and they had so many more at the time. Where I remember us having that argument. They're like, it's like, well, I mean, it takes them forever because they have to develop these characters, and that because they have to make a whole deck for them and make sure they're balanced and all this stuff. That's why this will not be as replayable as Funkoverse. And Funkoverse has now gone defunct.
Yeah,
a few years ago, and they're still supporting to this day. It's not even close anymore, right? Like it's way more, and I have to secede that argument from that original debate because this is very clearly loved, very clearly supported, and the replay value is just off the mark. So yeah, without a doubt.
What I also like about it too, and we've already talked about it. You gave it a Daniel. It's sitting at 7 out of 10 for our review, which is fair.
Yeah.
What's nice about it too is that they release some big sets on Kickstarter, but most of the time you can buy these sets straight out in the gaming world. So Cobble and Fog wasn't Kickstarter. The Jurassic Park one I have right here wasn't Kickstarter. The main Kickstarter ones that I have are the 2 co-op versions. Yeah. And the newest one is Ninja Turtles. Me and our friend Gamehead Geek got super excited, and damn it, Dom too. But we're Ninja Turtle fans. We grew up watching Ninja Turtles. When they were like announcing that, I was like, yes. And the fact that they like, okay, we understand. We heard you guys about the first game. The bad guys actually get their own deck of cards. You got to pay extra for it, but they have their own deck of cards to put them into the battler as well. So that is really neat.
That is. So it got a 7 out of 10 Daniels from us, and that was Unmatched. Any last minute things to say about it?
No, I adore this system. I love everything about it. I think the lowest set for me in my personal rating is like a 7. Everything else is pretty much higher. There are some sets that I don't care much for, and then there's some sets that I adore. Like Cobble and Fog is still by far my favorite set out of everything. I love how unique each of those characters play. My least favorite character out of Cobble and Fog is Jekyll and Hyde. They're fine.
I think I played with Jekyll and Hyde.
I
didn't.
I loved Sherlock and Watson. I
love
Dracula, who is fantastic. And I also like the fact that they have an IP on here, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you can have Buffy face Dracula, like the show. It's fantastic.
That's pretty hilarious. So, we hope you've enjoyed our review today. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.